I don't think the game's over.
Welcome to Triple Zeros. I'm your host, Josh Buckhalter. Follow me on Twitter at JoshGBuck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, the website, clockersports.com. The email address is clockersports@gmail.com. You can also find the podcast anywhere at 3 Zeros Pod. That's the number 3 Zeros Pod on Facebook and Twitter. Man, we got a lot of stuff to get into. It's been a while since we last had an actual discussion. Last episode was actually an interview with Brad Spielberger, his second appearance on Triple Zeros. Thank you to Brad Spielberger. Follow him at PFF_Brad. But we got to get into what's going on in the NFL right now. And man, let me tell you, it was a wild Week 15 as teams are settling. You have a lot of contenders rising to the top. You have pretenders falling back down to the bottom, and it's really just what you see, I think, every year. But, you know, every time it comes around, we have to act like it's a brand new phenomenon. So getting right into it, the first thing that we have to talk about is the Raiders, and they took on the Chargers in a game that saw them lose Derek Carr. Now, here's the thing about this one. It's a divisional contest, so you all expect something wild to happen. But what Derek Carr is running, pulling his groin muscle, was like scary, right? Because it seemed like it was a non-contact injury. We know what happens with those. So to see him has to be backed up by to be relieved by Marcus Mariota was quite interesting, because I actually tweeted this out during the game. We all know the situation that Mariota was coming from down in Tennessee. And I tweeted out, is it possible for Mariota to Ryan Tannehill, Derek Carr? And listen, while the Chargers ended up winning this game 30-27 in overtime, I think that you have to wonder, you know, maybe, possibly, is there a chance that John Gruden, who we know, while he might like Derek Carr, is not necessarily married to Derek Carr, and brought in Mariota and paid him well, by the way, not for nothing. So there's not, you know, zero possibility of this happening over this last stretch. We'll see what happens. But the Raiders have fallen quite a ways here over the last few weeks. And I think when you look at them at 7-7, you have to really wonder, you know, they're on the outside looking in, and 2 weeks left. I'm not sure if they actually have enough to make the push. They got so much done early on in the season. They built up that cushion. It's almost like my Bears, and we'll talk about them in a moment. But they built up such a cushion early on that I think to see them struggle, falter, not really, because it's kind of just who they were the entire time. They just, you know, aren't able to run it like they were. They've lost 4 of their last 5 now. You just kind of expected this. Now, they're not the one win that they have in that time is against the New York Jets, but if you look at who they've played the Chiefs, the Falcons, the Colts, and the Chargers. Now, granted, the Chargers, like I said, it's the Chargers, and they're not great themselves, but that's a divisional opponent, a tough opponent, no matter what, and you see the results. Now, I'll say this. They have the Dolphins and the Broncos next. They can lose both of those games and end up 7-9. For a team that started off, what was it, 6-3, to fall down to possibly 7-9, trust me, I know how that feels, and it's possible for my Bears too. Again, these two teams, and I think I might have to do some kind of comparison here for Clocker Sports about how I did this for the Bulls and the Brooklyn Nets. I maybe have to do one for the Bears and the Las Vegas Raiders, but you have to look at them now as one of the teams that's slipping and clinging to life. Now, they got to win these games to get in and hope for some help, I believe. But at the same time, you also have to know that there's some serious flaws in this defense. There have been the entire season. There's some limitations to the offense, despite the resurgence of Nelson freaking Aguilar. What? It's not consistent enough. Again, they're built around the run, and Derek Carr is very accurate. And we'll see what Mariota can, if he can give it some kind of juice in this regard. But I think you look at it as a situation where you kind of know what it is, right? You know what they're going to do, so it's not surprising as long as you don't let them get out in front of you. Now, what they did against the Chiefs when they were hitting those deep bombs and the Bucks, like, okay, hey, you got it. Those you got me, haha. But for the most part, you know what they're trying to do, and we've seen that if you can get them behind, they kind of struggle. That defense is not good. Period. They're just not good, and again, the offense is limited by, I don't know if it's by quarterback, by design, whatever, but they're just not capable of hanging right now with a lot of the other teams. They are currently 9th. They're on the bubble. You know, they got 7 teams now allowed in each conference with the expansion and whatnot. They're sitting right there on the outside looking in. And I don't see a path in, especially with no Carr. This is a team that started, like I said, 6-3. Dude, they were hot. They were one of the favorite teams. Carr was an MVP candidate. And of course, again, he's out now. He'll be missing the next week at least with the hamstring injury or with the groin pull. But damn, that's a fall from grace, man. And they're right back to being a middling team when they started playing some of these tougher franchises as it got going here. Because they were beating up on the Panthers, the Saints early. They got the Chiefs win. Like I said, that was a stunner. That's what made people think that they might have an actual chance. And they were only 3-2 at that point. Came out of the bye week, caught an L to the Bucs, and then they beat the Chargers and the Broncos. It's not surprising. Like I said, there are who you thought they really were. It just was impressive early on how they were doing it. So it sucks. That's rough, man. That's a rough one. But yeah, Derek Carr and that group, we'll see. Maybe this is the chance for Mariota to get back into it and reclaim a starting position here in the NFL. The Bills beat the Denver Broncos 48-19, and I don't even care about this game. What I want to talk about is the fact that Stephon Diggs, that trade worked out for both teams. And when I say that, I'm not even trying to halfway exaggerate. The Bills are sitting in first place in the AFC, and first place in the AFC East, and they are second in the AFC. And Diggs is leading the NFL in catches. He's second in the NFL third in the NFL in yards. Second if you take out Travis Kelce, who's having just a redonkulous season for a tight end, period, but for a tight end especially. And he's got 5 touchdowns. Now, the touchdowns are kind of lacking, but you know how they score down in Buffalo, or up in Buffalo, when they get into the red zone. Diggs has been tremendous for this offense and for Josh Allen, what he likes to do and what his talents are. And we just look at his last stretch of games here. He's been, over the last 2 weeks, he's got 27 targets, 21 catches, and he's got 277 yards and a touchdown. Again, he doesn't score a lot, but he's got the yards. He's been racking up yards all season. And he would be first probably in yards if he didn't get hurt in this game. That's incredible production in a city that, for the longest, now granted, a lot of this has to do with Allen being there, but you just never associated explosive wide receivers with Buffalo, explosive offense with Buffalo. They were a running team last year, and now they ended up being a passing team this year, heavily passing team, and they're even on defense. And you just look at it like, this worked out. Now, he was traded, this is the best part about it, from the Vikings to the Buffalo Bills for the 22nd overall pick, which they turned into Justin freaking Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is just out here leading rookies in catches. He's out here doing all types of incredible stuff for the Minnesota Vikings right now. And more importantly than that, he's replaced Stephon Diggs in that offense. Jefferson has 73 catches, 1,182 yards, 7 touchdowns. That's insane production from a rookie, especially a rookie on a team with Adam Thielen, who really hasn't gotten going as consistently as they probably would have hoped this season. He scored touchdowns, but he has not been one of the more productive. 771 yards for Adam Thielen. Woo! I am stumbling. The Justin Jefferson emergence has just been one of the things. He's 8th in yards right now. Jefferson is. It's been stunning because as I've gotten to witness this up close and personal twice in the past 5 weeks, his route running is such that if you're not as precise as a DB, if you're not on his hip already, when he starts making his cuts, he's 5-6 yards away to where it looks like there's nobody there. Like, you could be playing okay defense, good defense even, but if he starts making his cuts and getting in and out of his breaks, there's nothing you're going to do. 2 games against the Bears, he's got 21 targets, 16 catches, 239 yards. No touchdowns, though. Hey, take them where you can get them. That trade just worked out for everybody. That worked out for Bears. Got a player out of it even. Like, this just worked out for everybody. And I mean, I don't want to say you like to see it because, forget the Vikings. But still, that's a great trade. Great trade for everybody. Kudos. Hats off to both of these front offices for figuring it out, making it work for everybody. And in Buffalo, no, that's Indianapolis. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked here. It's just a win-win. One of the trades. I just had to revisit it before we end the season because it worked out so well for both teams, and hopefully it continues to pay off because that's what you hope for, right? That's the goal, supposedly, is to win-win. And it looks like we actually see that here. The Pats lose in Miami yet again. Not something that we are unaccustomed to seeing, but what is special about this one is that it knocked them out of the playoffs for the first time in about a decade. I'm sorry, about 20 years. Listen, 2002. Patriots have been in the playoffs for quite some time here, and what we're seeing now is them going to a rebuilding period, something that we haven't seen from them in quite some time. And so it's foreign, but for that to happen down in Miami, I think is one of the funniest things of all time. Now, we know about Tom Brady when he was there and his struggles down in Miami. Cam has been struggling all season, Cam Newton, but for it to end for them, for this run to end for them down in Miami is kind of poetic in a sense. A team that's been the worst, one of the worst in the divisions, is on the rise now, taking out the team that's been the top dog. That's pretty good. They haven't missed the playoffs since 2008. Since 2008, and they were 11-5. They are going to. They're not going to have a winning season this year because they've already lost 8 games, and that hasn't happened. Whew, you got to go all the way back to 2000 since the last time they did not have a winning season. It's changes, man. Sweeping, massive changes. Like, holy crap. And they were 5-11 last year. I mean, it's an improvement. They're closer now, I guess. I don't think so. That's insane. That's insane. They lost that game 22-12 as Cam Newton, like I said, went out there and 209 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. We've seen the no touchdowns thrown for him a lot this year. And 209 yards, that's actually a high for him. Like, not the high, but like one of his higher marks because he just has not been good. He has not been good. I think that it pains me to say it, but he's probably about done. Maybe he needs to get healthier. Maybe he needs another year of getting healthy, but it's not looking good. And we know over the Patriots, 2-6 in their last 8 games in Miami. Going back to 2013, 3 in a row before that, and then it was good before early on, but the last 13, man, or last 8 games, 2-6. They lost 2 in a row prior to a win prior to this game that they just lost again. It's just a bugaboo, but it ends their playoff run. 2008. Winning season since 2000 and 2000. Last time they went 8-8 was in 1999, and they're hoping to get to 8-8. That's insane. It's insane to think that it's come down. Now, on the flip side, Miami's out here doing things, coming back and making themselves I won't say contender yet, but they're a team to watch. They're on the come up. Salvon Ahmed, 23 carries, 122 yards on the ground. Tua Tagovailoa has been a bit of an enigma. He looks good some games. Could be just he's a rookie, but I think there's more credence to some of those that this is an audition more than just him getting settled in than some people might want to admit here, because I'm just not sure that we've seen. Now, granted, there's not a lot there in Miami around him, and maybe that's what you want to see beforehand, but I don't completely write off the possibility of them looking towards quarterback in the draft. Just don't look at it. We'll see what happens with the Texans pick. Who knows what they try to do. I would think it'd be more likely to try to trade down and get some more weapons for him, or stay where they are and pick weapons for him, but you can't completely just write it off. It's just not possible, because we know how the NFL works. When the talent falls, and if it's there, teams are willing to sacrifice, especially if it's a guy that they like. Especially if it's a guy that they like. I believe that we know that Tua was not their top choice, but they took him because he was the best available. What's to stop them from doing the same thing this time around? Not much. Not much. The Houston Texans lost again, but that's despite Deshaun Watson actually having another really good game. Kiki QT fumbled this ball in the end zone, fumbled this game away in the end zone. Watson and the Texans have had a miserable season, but they were playing against the Indianapolis Colts, who are one of the better teams around right now, sitting at second in the AFC South, 10-4. Watson was 373 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 5 times though. He's been sacked 16 times over the past 3 weeks. That's horrible. And to be completely honest, the teams that he's been sacked against, the Bears and the Colts twice, those aren't the best pass rushes. So, like, that's really, really bad protection going on there, especially for a team that traded away a first-round pick for a left tackle, is only helping out the team that they traded for him from. Yeah, that sounds about right. Watson's been great this year, but when you have guys fumbling in the end zone, it's just been that kind of season. Be it injury, be it breakdowns. They fired Bill O'Brien after he seemed like he was doing everything he could to get fired. The next GM is going to have some pieces, but man, it's going to be a bad cap situation, and some magic's going to have to be worked out in the draft, because you guys are without first-round picks, and I can tell you from experience, that is severely hindering to your organization. I would not recommend you trade first-round picks away, period. If you got to trade them for a player, you probably don't need to get that player. That's just the truth of it. Unless you're like a contender already set, and you can afford to be down for a couple of years, because you're probably going to be missing that one for a couple of years. It just sets you back. It's just, if you miss, that's how it goes. The Lions fired the special teams coordinator after he had a rogue fake punt. They lost their game, obviously. They took on the Tennessee Titans 46-25. That's just a perfectly Lions thing to have happen. Just wanted to mention that. Nothing of note about that game for me personally that I wanted to bring up here. Derrick Henry definitely had a game. 147 more yards. He just is a stud. We just know that already. 273 from Tannehill, 3 touchdowns. 252 from Stafford, and a touchdown. Lions are bad. I mean, that's not a surprise. Former Lions head coach Jim Caldwell did interview for the Texans job, though. We'll see what happens with that. Or will interview with the Texans job, rather. You have the NFC least. We got to take a check of the power rankings here. The NFC least is right now coming on strong, man. You got the Dallas Cowboys out here winning games. Now they're 5-9. Whoa, look out. The Washington Redskins sitting there top of the throne in the East right now, 6-8. Now, I personally thought 6 games would win. Kudos to these teams for making that not a thing, because it looks like you're gonna have 2, possibly 3 teams with 6 wins or more, and Washington is trying to get it. Now, I'm not sure. I think that either one of them are actually going to get there, just to be honest with you. But I do want to say that this is quite impressive, especially with some of the wins that you've had over the past few weeks. Now, did I say the Redskins? Oh my gosh, the Washington football team. Anyway, back to the story. The football team, 2015 to the Seattle Seahawks, they were making Russell Wilson look a little bit uncomfortable for most of the game. We know that defense is legit. They get a quarterback back there and some real weapons around him other than just Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson. When he comes back, you're going to have a real chance to see something come out of the Washington football team led by Ron Rivera. He does a great job of turning organizations around. He is what they thought John Fox would be when he got to the Bears. It's just a guy who can reestablish some culture and get things back on track. The football team is 4-1 over their last 5. They just with that loss to the Seahawks, who needed it desperately, being their first one in over a month. It's been a while, man. It's been a wild ride. And then for the Dallas Cowboys, and they have the Panthers and the Eagles left. Do the football team now? They're at home against the Panthers, but they do go on the road against the Eagles, who are also trying to fight for things with Jalen Hurts starting at quarterback, Carson Wentz bench requesting to be traded, Doug Peterson understanding all of that, and blah, blah, blah. And holy crap, it's a lot going on. And I'm going to toss a name out there in a trade for Carson Wentz a little bit later on, and I'm just going to let it hang because I wanted to tweet it, but I really didn't feel like dealing with the super fans because, man, fans, when you step back and think about the fact that fan is short for fanatic, it just all makes so much sense because, whew. Anyway, I digress. But you also have the Cowboys, who are 3-2, their last 5. Their last 2 are against the Eagles next week, and then the Giants. Now, this gets interesting because the Eagles, you see how it's all coming together, man. This is a tough division all of a sudden. But the Eagles, who are 5-1 in their last 6, it's been bad since their bye week, and they just benched Carson Wentz. Jalen Hurts has gotten starts. Will continue to start. They play the Cowboys and the football team. They're probably going to go 0-2 these next 2 games. Now, maybe they win this one and completely eliminate Dallas and just muck it up for them and make it a football team's division to lose. But I can't say that it's out of the question that they win both of these games either. They have not probably. They have the best pedigree because they have pieces who've won a Super Bowl. But they're probably the worst team right now. And that might even be including the Giants, who are without Daniel Jones right now. And that's just because it hasn't been good. The defense is atrocious. They were without Darius Slay. You got Jalen Hurts starting. They're just starting to figure that kind of thing out. We know how that goes with young quarterbacks when they start getting stuff serious. Like maybe, let's say they find a way to sneak into the playoffs if they still can. I'm not sure if they've even been eliminated or not yet. But if they find a way in, you're only going to see the best of the best. And see, that's another lesson that I have to bring back up a little bit later is you have to want your team to make the playoffs if they know they're going to make some noise. If they're just going to show up, there's no point in going. You'd be better off missing and capitalizing on that in the draft. But I'm not sure that even if this Eagles team was to find it, basically, there would be enough here for them to make it. I'm not sure that there's any for any of the teams out there, but at least the football team has a defense capable of suppressing offense of an opponent. So, keep an eye out for the NFC East. The NFC East is out here beasting out. The Falcons blew a 24-7 lead. No, not 28-3, 24-7 to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Oh, my gosh. Atlanta. Close the damn game. What's the problem? The Super Bowl really messed up the psyche of an entire organization like this. This is insane. They were rolling over the Buccaneers, making them look silly, harassing Tom Brady, doing whatever they wanted against this defense. And they lost. They lost that game. It's insane. You can't script anything such as this where a team routinely, not once, not twice, routinely blows significant leads. It's insane. You have to blow it up because there's some bad mojo right now around that place that's got to be cleaned out. You just have to. You got to blow it up. You fired the coach, you fired the GM already, but you gotta tear that thing apart. Get rid of Matt. Try to get rid of Julio if you can. Get rid of either one of those guys. And Raheem Morris already said Ito Smith is the guy going forward. Todd Gurley's roll of shame, so we know Gurley's gone next year. Like, holy crap. Man, that's bad. That's bad. Don't even feel bad. That's just bad. Now, I'm trying to figure out what's worse. And I know the answer, but I'm going to put it this way anyway. The Rams losing to the 0 forever Jets, or the Steelers losing to the 2-10 Bengals. The Rams were 9-5, by the way, and the Steelers were 11-2. Bengals now 3-10-1. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that one tie that they had as well. Like, come on. Steelers have now lost 3 in a row. 2 of those games to teams that are below 500 in the football team and now the Bengals. I tweeted this out earlier. Again, follow me on Twitter at JoshGBuck. The Steelers, regardless of how that game turned out, and that's what it said in the tweet, it was win, lose, or draw. We know now that they lost. What the hell? They're in trouble when the playoffs start. This offense is stagnant. There's no running game to speak of. You played the Bengals defense, fam. You weren't playing the Ravens, which you lost to as well, or the Bills, which you lost to, or even either one of those teams. You weren't playing either one. You were playing the Bengals with Ryan Finley at quarterback. This is an atrocious. This is the worst. And again, this is coming from a person who sat here and told you that the Steelers would go undefeated like 2 weeks before they started losing these damn games like this. Maybe I put the kibosh. I don't think so. Because at the time, everybody was trying to tell me how flawed these guys were. And I was like, nah, man, you can only play what you put in front of you, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I knew deep down they wouldn't go undefeated. But holy crap, to the football team and the Bengals, I thought they'd lose to the Colts, who they played this coming week. They're going to lose that game too. And they're going to have to play the Browns for the division in week 17. It's not good. You're not getting any better. They're going to have to blow this thing up. They're going to hang on for one more year and regret it. Probably not. It's a great organization. They'll find some draft gems and retool and be competitive enough to not give a damn. But I mean, damn it. They were 11-0, fam. They lost 3 in a row now. Ben, my friend, the deep ball's not there. We heard Mike Tomlin a few weeks ago talk about how they don't do play action because they're limited in what they can do in their offense. Like this, it's not worth it. You're a hindrance. You're not helping. He had 187 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks in this game. He was only sacked 1 time. What's funniest about that was his first sack since week 8. Let me say that again. They've been this putrid these past 3 weeks, and that was his first sack since week 8. They're doomed. You're doomed. I had visions of a Pittsburgh, Kansas City AFC champion. Nope. Not gonna make it. Not gonna make it. And probably depends on who they play in the first round. Pittsburgh, but doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. That's just like the way it is. Damn. You gotta do better than that, man. I don't know what else to say about it. That's bad. But the Rams, what the hell? You lose to the Jets? Now, in talking about betting on this game, I made note that, as you go on in the season, it gets much tougher. I heard this years ago about the Lions and then about the Browns. It gets much tougher to beat those winless teams. They're playing free. They got nothing to lose other than more games. But they're used to that. And so it gets hard because they just don't want to fight. They're cornered animals. The Rams falling to 9-5, have now just become the latest team to fall victim to that trap. They got a big game against Seattle next week. They just blew out New England. They super snoozed on this Jets team and got caught lacking. They're in trouble. Because they have moments like this. Because they can be exploited like this. A good run defense. They just lost Cam Akers to a high ankle sprain. You get to the playoffs, you're going to see some offenses that can get to you and get after you. If the Jets can get at you like this, in LA, by the way, you're going to be in trouble when you get to the playoffs. You're damn near going to be in trouble against the Seahawks, even though the Rams have played him well, played Russ and those guys well for years now. You're going to be in trouble, man. It's not going to look good. These are two teams that should be much better than this right now, that are struggling far more than their records and what you might think of when you just, when they first pop into your mind, between the Rams and the Steelers. Not looking good, though. Not looking good for long term in this year, because they're just not. There are too many flaws, too many obvious flaws, too many lax moments offensively for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Defensively, too. They've been getting torn up defensively. For the Rams, wow. For the Rams, you just feel like we've seen this movie before. You just know what's going to happen. Goff's going to throw the pick, right? They're going to have the turnover. They're going to have the defensive gaffe. That's just what it feels like. And to lose to the Jets, you know what? And that's why I say I know the worst one is the Jets still. But to the Rams, somebody's going to do it. It just happened to be you, and you were a good team. Shouldn't have been you. But you let it be you. That's rough. Also, the Jacksonville Jaguars owe them a fruit basket because they got now the first pick. They can thank the Rams for that. The Chiefs beat out the Saints, spoiled Drew Brees' return. He did so without Michael Thomas in the lineup. You know what this is. Chiefs rolling. Favorites to win the Super Bowl. Saints are still number 2 in the NFC, 3 in the NFC. Not worried about it. If they can get Thomas back for the playoffs, they'll be fine. Breeze looked all right. They figured out some pass protection stuff. They got some other guys involved. They lost Traquan Smith, too. That's going to hurt. But not worried about it. The Bears have won back-to-back games for the first time since weeks 5 and 6 of this year. Their 6-game losing streak was their longest in quite some time. It hurt. And I wrote this for Last Word on Pro Football last week that, you can't be fooled because we know what this team is. It's the same group they've always been. This week, I had to write that I appreciate their process far more than I care about what the result is. They won these games against weaker opponents. Yes, the Vikings beat them a few weeks back, but they should have beat them then, and they rightfully beat them this week. But you got to appreciate that they've gotten back to running the football, moving Trubisky around. You call out the fact that the defense has been ass the past 3 weeks, the past month really, but especially the past 3 weeks. Well, you got to take out the Texas game. So the past month minus the Texas game. 34 points per game minus that Texas game. That's shutout. Against a team that we just talked about being awful. I appreciate it. I appreciate what's going on. I appreciate them trying to do things. I appreciate the fact that they've adapted in that sense. Looking back and having someone actually point it out, the improvement in drafting post the hiring of Matt Nagy, since Nagy's been around. Appreciate that. These are good things. I'm not saying that these are all excusing, but these are good things. And I say that because there's a very good chance that these guys return next year. So there's a really strong possibility that I'm going to have to suck it up and deal with these guys for another season. So might as well look for the positives. Again, the process. You can repeat this process. You can repeat moving Trubisky. The line combination. Sam Mustard for shout out. You can repeat that. I don't care about the results right now. Not this season. The fact that they've seemingly figured some things out. Adapting to the offense. Nagy getting off the play calling and getting back to managing the guys. Fine. If it's working, it's working. They won't have a real test to figure it out the rest of the year anyway. We'll see what happens in week 17. I doubt Green Bay rolls over, but we'll see what happens if they get punched in the mouth real quick. If maybe they just say, screw it, we got bigger fish to fry. We'll see. But I like the process. Switching gears over to the NBA, you had a lot of rookies. Well, not rookies, but the 2017 draft class getting their bags, payday, extensions, all the way around. You had a number of guys cashing in. Kyle Kuzma kicked everything off, getting his $40 million extension. And there's a lot of talk about whether or not that was well deserved. Here's the thing about it, and this goes for Jonathan Isaac, Luke Kennard, who had Montrezl Harrell commenting okay about his contract. These guys are getting locked up at a time when teams know that they're going to be without revenue for the short term, but that could possibly lead, the causes of that could possibly lead to a great windfall in the future. And they're locking these guys up at a time that I think they might be banking on a rise in the cap going forward. Maybe not next year, but the year after or something like that. Rookie extensions, that's what you do anyway, so let me not look too deep into it. But as the deadline approached, you saw guys coming and going, and now you saw ones that didn't get done. And one of them, Lauri Markkanen, was notable. Lonzo Ball didn't get one. He'll be a restricted free agent. I just don't think that judging Kuzma's or any of them is fair unless you view it through the prism of the fact that they're locking up guys when the cap is suppressed, so when it leaps, they'll still have some flexibility. That's like the most that's the most basic way I can put it, because that's what it is. De'Aaron Fox got the last of the Supermax deals. Talked about Kuzma, OG Anunoby, Derek White. Talked about Luke Kennard. Markelle Fultz got his deal. Good for him, by the way, on earning an extension after all that he went through to begin his career. Talked about Jonathan Isaac, Lonzo Ball. Talked about him. Lowry didn't get that extension. Now, I've talked about this, but what we're really seeing here is probably the first admission that there's a chance Lowry won't be involved going forward. And I've spoken on it because here's the thing. When he's not hitting shots, he's not adding a lot of value. And that's not to say he can't, it's to say he isn't. He doesn't pass doesn't have enough passing chops to. He hasn't displayed enough passing chops, I want to say, because it's not necessarily that he can't, it's just that he hasn't done it to offset any lack of offense. He doesn't rebound enough. He doesn't play defense. He can't move him to the 5 with any type of regularity. So if he's not shooting ball, well, damn it. So, like, here's what else I'm realizing. Let me just put it this way. With the Bulls in general, we're kind of seeing why Jim Boylan was doing some of the things that he was doing with having Lowry stand still. If you're not going to consistently attack the basket and be aggressive, then you're going to stand here and shoot a jump shot because I know you can shoot. Doesn't do that well, great either, but he could do that consistently. Wendell, you wanted to shoot threes, but you were like 1 for 16 in the preseason, bro. Stop shooting the threes. Stop it. Not saying Boylan was right about a lot, but some of these things he might have been spot on with. So there's extensions everywhere. I just don't think that it's fair to look at them unless you look at it again, like I said, through a prism of their cashing in on a suppressed market when they probably are banking on a rise when they can come back and welcome fans again and have that enthusiasm they're counting on. We'll see what happens with it if it actually happens, but I mean, it's not surprising. Kuzma's especially, people want to dog Kuzma, but it's tough being a third guy on a LeBron team coming off the bench, especially when you've seen so much change in your short career. Consistently see from him would help ease a lot of that pressure and the noise, but it's not surprising that he got what he got, or any of these guys. They earned it, dude. This is what you do. That's so the Tress thing is so weird. He's had so much to say. It's weird. I don't know. Maybe he's mad that Kennard got paid from the Clippers and he didn't. But I mean, like, it's just weird. Who cares, bro? Move on. You about to go get a ring, or at least have a chance to go get that ring for real. I don't think the Clippers will. I think, and people made a lot of Kawhi saying that if he is healthy, it wouldn't make sense for him to not opt out. So what? So what? He's coming back to LA. He wanted to be in LA. He'll opt out and get that money. It's all about making more money somehow, some way. He can opt out and re-sign for a bigger deal. That's all. That's all it is. So stop looking into it and acting like everything has to be like the Anthony Davis situation. That was way different. We knew he wanted out of New Orleans. Kawhi chose to be in LA. I can't see a reason why. Now, he fed into it by saying that doesn't mean that he's staying or going. But I think that'd be more to put pressure on ownership to make it active attempts to get better than it is on him saying he's actually going anywhere. I just can't see him. That's wild. That'd be wild. And where? Don't tell me. Like, does he go join AD in on the other side of the locker room? That would be hilarious because Paul George just re-upped. Of course, we've seen Paul George sign massive contracts before just to be traded. So who knows what happens? Because if Kawhi leaves, best believe they're trying to shop PG. Don't nobody want PG without Kawhi Leonard right now. Not happening. Not happening. Ty Lue says, speaking of the Clippers, Ty Lue says that he is installing the triangle offense to take use of Kawhi in the Michael Jordan role. Well, this is only going to fuel all types of rumors. Now, this could be some Ty Lue posturing to poke and prod LeBron a little bit because he's saying he sees some Mike in him and he didn't see it in LeBron. Whatever. It's an interesting concept because we've seen other teams try to install it of late. Even Phil Jackson in New York. Years back, but still, we saw it. And it failed. So to think that they're going to be able to implement it now with guys who already had some issues before, I don't know, man. You're changing things up to make it work for these other dudes. Meanwhile, the guys who were there, but again, maybe it was just Montrez, and it seems to be it was just Montrez because Pat and Lou still chilling. The other two guys who were the biggest personalities on that team are still there, chilling, locked in, ready to win. Trez is on the other side. It's going to be interesting when they tip off tomorrow. I do think that it's interesting, too, to see the rumors of James Harden going to the Denver Nuggets. And the package, if you look at the package they're talking about him going for, yeah, whatever. You're not going to get that. If you do that, it's Michael Porter Jr., like Jamal Murray, like 3 first-round picks, and a partridge in a pear tree. It's the dumbest trades I've ever seen in my life. There's no way that they're trading James Harden or trading for James Harden and getting rid of all that. You just don't do it. That's bad business. That's just bad business for a guy that didn't show up to his team that was currently supposed to be in contention for something this season. For guys that he's friends with and supposedly wanted in the city, he's still ready to go. No, man. That doesn't make any sense at all. You're going to need the Clippers having to view the Lakers getting their rings. Oh, it's going to be great. Tip off. By the time this drops, you'll have 2 games being played. The Warriors, the Nets, and then later on, the Clippers and Lakers unveiling their championship rings and getting their banners hung in front of the Clippers' faces. Love it. That's how you do it. That's Patty, man. Look, you want to be here till you get your own building. I mean, even still, you still come to be LA, so this is what you get. That Nets-Warriors game, though, KD versus Steph. KD said he'd always be a Warrior. We always talk about how they talk about how the rings that he won there aren't valid because he wasn't the guy. It's Steph's team, blah, 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 blah. Still an interesting game, and I want to see it. He looked healthy. Kyrie looked healthy. Kyrie's out here burning sage before games. See James White. There's going to be a good slate of games, man. 6 p.m. Central. Excited. NBA is back. Again, we just ended a month plus ago. So it's not like it was that long ago, but I mean, damn it. It's right back at it and starting off with some interesting storyline. NBA knew what it was doing. Adam Silver's no slouch. He had those scheduling guys whip up something for him, something real nice. Now, I do want to get, since we're starting off tomorrow, I had to get my predictions set in stone. So let's start off and see what we can posture about here. For my MVP, I think I'm going to go with Anthony Davis. Now, I have some other ones that I had listed in the locker room group, but without having that one handy, I'm going off the top of my head right now. And I'm going to validate this one. Whatever that one says, whatever. I don't care about that one. This one, though. This is what I'm going to hold myself to. MVP, I'm going to say AD. Defensive player of the year, I think I'm going to say AD. I think he's going to try to pull off the Giannis and get those numbers where it's at. Now, LeBron's going to hurt that, but I think you see LeBron take a step back further and play more of a point guard role, even with Schroeder in tow and Caruso there, and you see AD get that MVP lockdown. And maybe not. Maybe it goes the other way and LeBron tries to get it again, but I can see that. Most improved. This one's tough. But I can see Kobe getting it. Kobe White with Chicago because of the fact that he's moving to the starting lineup now. Other guys, other names that I'm thinking of. Maybe you see something out of Michael Porter Jr. I would imagine you see something out of him. So it'll probably be those two. Porter Jr. and Kobe White would be my top two choices for most improved. Rookie of the year, LaMelo. Opportunity is greater than he's going to have all the chances to screw up. Now, granted, there's two talented guards there, but it's LaMelo's team. We know that. Let's not fool around. Coach of the year, Billy Donovan, man. Why not? Let's go a little Homer right now. Damn it, let's go Homer. And speaking of the Bulls, I did write for PimpinAin'tEasy.com a one goal for each core member of the Bulls. That's Zach, Kobe, Lowry, Wendell, and Patrick Williams, who I have grown into a fan of after being so down on the pick initially. I am now a big Patrick Williams supporter. So I was a supporter. Let me not say that. I'm a big Patrick Williams fan now, though. So had to put that out there. And then the champion, I'm going to say we're going to get a Lakers-Nets finals, and the Lakers are going to win again just because they have the physicality and they can build. Now, the Nets, if they can stay healthy, are built to take on the Lakers. I'm not going to – there's no bull about that. But I thought let's leave it there. How about that? Well, let me see how they play. But I think my early prediction for the finals is going to be Nets-Lakers. That's my early prediction. Granted, everybody's predicting Kyrie to tear this team apart by All-Star break. They were considering trading him supposedly for James Harden. That never came to fruition. It was never going to happen anyway. But if that's the case, yeah, I think I'm going to stick with Nets-Lakers, and I don't want to pick. I picked Lakers last year. I was right, but I want to see a couple of games. Let me see a couple of games, and then I'll come back and make my finals prediction, and I'll stamp the awards. But I like it so far. So let's see: MVP, AD, Defensive Player of the Year, AD. I think he goes for the Giannis, trying to prove that he can do what Giannis was out here doing. Most improved was Kobe or MPJ. Rookie of the Year, LaMelo. Coach of the Year was Billy Donovan. Do I have a comeback player of the year? I don't know if I have a comeback. Oh! KD. Comeback player of the year. That's the guy. He's going to have competition. You're going to have Steph. You're going to have some Kyrie, but I think Kyrie will be a distant third between those two. But KD and Steph going for comeback player of the year. This is a Clocker Sports article. This will be out tomorrow or maybe Wednesday or Thursday, but it's going to be out sometime this week with my awards predictions. Two guys, top two candidates from each one, and that's what's going to be. Oh, AD and Giannis battling for MVP again with LeBron as the dark horse, which is probably going to hurt AD in most eyes, but I think it won't matter long term because I think people are going to realize. Most improved, Kobe and Michael Porter Jr., Rookie of the Year, LaMelo, and I want to say Anthony Edwards, but there's two other really good scorers there, and I know how good he is, but we'll go with Wiseman because I think the Warriors are going to try something different early on to try to make things work. It's going to be the Steph and James Wiseman show. So it will be Kobe, or LaMelo, and James Wiseman for Rookie of the Year. Coach of the Year, Billy Donovan, and the other option that I would have, Ty Lue. I think they'll find a reason to try to put Ty Lue in the conversation, despite him having all the talent in the world on that team too. So Ty Lue and Billy Donovan will be in contention for Coach of the Year. Comeback Player of the Year, KD, will be in contention with Steph Curry. Finals will be the Nets versus the Lakers. Yeah. That's it. I like that. We're going to run with that. And with that being said, that's going to do it for this episode of Triple Zeros. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at JoshyBuck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, website, clockersports.com. Email address, clockersports@gmail.com. Find the pod everywhere on Twitter, on Facebook at 30spod, on Instagram as well at 30spod, the number 30spod. Until the very next time, man, you already know what it is. I'm gone.